Okay, so someone actually told me that it is impossible to create a full application using AI. That's both front end, back end, and a database. That it's very, very impossible. So in this video, I'm here to prove the person wrong, and I actually would be showing you how to create a full application with both front end and back end using AI. Now, I'm going to be using Next.js for this tutorial, and this would basically work with any other framework or platform you're using. So I'm going to be using Next.js as the framework for the full stack application, and then I'm going to be using Cloud because I basically just prefer it, and I'm using the free version. Everything I'm using in this video is basically free. So without further ado, let's actually jump straight here. So the first thing I actually did was create my folder, which is called to-do list, because we're going to be building a to-do list. So now it's going to be having the front end and the back end. So on the front end, you actually create like your to-dos, and then it's going to be stored on the database via the back end. So that's basically the architecture of this application. So that's the first thing you need to do, get the architecture. All right, so I'm using Next.js. It's a full stack platform, and yeah, so to actually create a new Next.js app, you can just copy this, come here, and paste it. So it's going to load for a little bit, and then we are going to have our Next.js app ready. So while this is actually loading, the main thing you need to actually know when trying to build an application with AI is to know the architecture, right? Sit down, draft how you want your application to be, like how the front end should be like, how the back end should be like, how the database should be like, how data should actually flow like in the application. That's like the most important step. Now, the next thing you would want to do is break down all the steps into smaller chunks, right? So I'm using TypeScript, Tailwind. Yeah, I'm using Tailwind because I actually like Tailwind. So you break the application into smaller chunks. Now, what I'm building here is very simple. We have the front end, which is going to have like a form, right? And then we have a back end, which is going to basically have the to-dos. You can do infinite applications using this method. Now, if your application is going to be very, very large, I would recommend you using DeepSeek. That's if you do not want to pay for Cloud Pro, because if you are building very large applications, you actually have to pay for Cloud Pro. Like Cloud, that is like the AI, like Cloud. Like you actually have to pay for the Pro version. But if you can see, I'm using the free plan here. So why I'm saying that is because Cloud actually has like a limit, but DeepSeek, it's actually much more better. Like it's harder to reach the limit on DeepSeek, but with Cloud you actually get to the limit quite fast. So let's see whether it's not yet done. It's not done installing yet. So well, I would see you when it's done installing. Our application has been installed, as we can see here. We have our to-do list application, and then we have Next.js properly set up. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is basically just prompting it. So I have this prompt here, and one thing I usually like to do is give it a little bit of example from either former projects or the documentation itself. So I'm just going to be using examples from former projects. I think I have better examples. Let me just look for an application I've built. Okay, this is actually perfect. So basically, I'm just going to be giving it an example for the API to actually like have like a basic idea of how it should look like. Okay, so we'll come here and say this is an example of Next.js API. So why I'm actually giving it an example is because most times these models tend to hallucinate. So to actually reduce the chances of it hallucinating, most times I just copy examples and like give it. Now it has started generating the code, and I can just start going through the code and see what it has generated. So we have a Mongo schema here, we have a code operations. Code stands for create, read, update, delete, and if you can see from here, get, post, put, delete, it's basically like an example of code. Now we have our to-do list, so we have like the models, so just copy this. Okay, let me do that. So copy this, and we have our application here. Let me just move this so that it's actually like closer. Okay, now I have our models here, right? What I can even do, I can just try to delete this. So I actually created this by myself. Let me just delete this and let's just create it again. So we have models.todo.models.tx. So I can just copy this. Ideally, you would want to wait for the whole distance to stop rendering so that you don't have like these stuffs of it jumping up and down. But well, doing it anyway. So we have this. So one thing I would want to install is Mongoose, and add Mongoose. So we have that, and then we have our code operations. Okay, so we have our get route, we have our post route. Okay, I think for now we just have get and post route on this endpoint here, and then for the other one we have like update and delete. So let me just copy this. So we have our API endpoint, this for the backend, because Next.js, anything that is relating to like backend or server side, usually like inside like the API this thing. So I'm just going to be creating that here, and we have our APIs here. So just copy this, paste. Now we have these files here, dbconnect and to do, which has not been defined for us here, but we are going to be getting that very soon. And then the next one is basically going to be this route. Let me just copy this. So this is like for dynamic routing. That's why the ID is in square brackets. So just come under here and do that also, and then just copy this code and paste. So I think we already have the models. Let me just import the models from here too. Let me do that for the models, because we have created the models. I think what we don't have is the DB Connect. Now we have like the types. Actually have to create the types. So let me just create that. We have our types. The next thing is the services. So let me just create that. The services. We have this. We have our validations. So let me also create that. So basically, this code will be available on my GitHub, so you can see the link in the description. And then I'll just continue this. Okay, so we have like the components. Let me just create that also, so you can see how easy it is to actually do that. So let me just paste this. So I need to actually like install like Formic and also install Yop. Let me just do that and add Formic and then Yop, and then let me import all these stores, values from @app/validations. Yep, so that's for that. So this for types, and then as soon as Formic is done installing, you should have that ready. So So we still have our component here. So I think we already have a folder called this to do forms. So we'll just create the items. So this for the items. Where is it now? Component. This for the form. Let me see. To do forms, and this for the items. So we'll just create this here. Items, and then just copy this and paste. Okay, this is not done generating. I think it should be done generating here. Yep. So what else is left? To the list. Let's see. Okay, so this is, let me see the difference between this now. This is the to-do item and this is the to-do list. So basically just copy this, new file, and copy this also. Yeah. Now the next thing is going to be the main page, right? So we actually go to slash to dos. So I want this to actually be like my index page. So I'm not going to be putting it inside the slash to do. So I'm just going to be coming to this place here and then moving everything that is here and just pasting this here. So one thing I can do is to import everything, the form, the list, okay, I think I sent the issue, the list, and then the service, and then all this, that's from the types. So let me just import that manually. Slash types slash to do types. So that's that, and then basically have a package dot this thing, and then they will tell you what you should actually install, right? And let me just copy all this actually and then just paste it here. So there's something that is not installed currently because now we're using Next.js, like the latest version of Next.js, which uses Tailwind version 4. So all this stuff should not be necessary. Yep, because our Next.js actually sets it up automatically for us. So basically that is not necessary. So let that install. Now let's just check what is showing already and fix the issues. So from here, we have like an import issue. Let me just fix that. Slash types. And then this should actually fix the issue here. Let me see what is wrong here. I think this is like a type issue. Then the service, let's see what is causing the issue. I think slash app should fix that. And then let me see what is causing the issue here. So slash app. That has fixed the issues there. This one is type issues. And basically let's run the code and see. I think I should have an error because there's one file that is missing, and which is the db. So let me just copy this and tell it to generate the file. I guess it's like an overview, an oversight, or I didn't even see it from here. Let me see. Okay, it did not actually create it. So create this. So we should actually create that. So as it's creating that, let's actually see how the application looks like and see whether we have any errors. And if we have any errors, basically like fix the errors. So as this is loading, we actually can see we have like an error, and you can see it's from that page. So let's see that this is done creating it. Okay, yeah, so it's done creating this. So let's just put this here, copy and paste. So should have everything ready, and let me just import this. inside here. So slash app slash, yep, so that should actually fix that issue. Let me see what other issue is here. I think these are typed issues. And then here also slash app slash, so let's now check out our app. Let me refresh this. Okay, now I think I know why this is not working. So we actually need to create a env file. We can actually put in our MongoDB URL. So let me just create that. So we have this now, and let me just get the name that was used. So let me see from here, what did they say? Yep. So we should give us our environmental variable example. So I'm just going to be copying this whole stuff and then pasting it here. I think this should work now. Let's see. So I actually have MongoDB installed on my computer. You should actually have MongoDB installed or whatever database you are using. So let me just remove this and just put any random value there. So let's do this, having the issue. So we're having the issue again. Let's create test, and there's an issue with this styling. So we'll just come here. I think the issue should be from here. So let me refresh this page up. That actually fix the issue. So let's see, this is a test. So let's just see low, and let's see how that works. So now you see we actually have like a to do, right? You can see we have it to do. So you can actually like edit this test, edit. Let me just make this medium, and you can see that. So if you want to actually edit this, you can do that. Clear completed. So basically you can see that we have like a full application that has like the back end, the front end, and a database. So it's actually possible to actually build this, and you can see that I did not really impute anything, just basically the AI wrote most of the code. So basically that's that for this video, and if you have not subscribed to this channel, make sure you actually hit that subscribe button, and see you in the next video.